Now we're into the home stretch. We're just going to talk quickly about assignments and grading for this module. The grade for this module consists entirely of work that you do that is written and individual, and they're all related to each other. So there's 15% for two pre-writing assignments, A1 and A2, that are meant to help you work up for the final assignment, which is worth 85% of the final grade. So you should watch all the recorded lectures and attend all the sync sessions. These will help you understand and think through the written assignments because that's what they were designed for. So the final assignment is a case analysis of one organization of your choice. It's 16 double-spaced pages maximum. You can be shorter than that, not a problem. And it's due in week 15. The goals of the assignment are to provide a context for understanding how to do strategic analysis and strategic design, provide you with a context for doing research to support strategy making, and also provide a setting for learning how to communicate and make arguments concisely and effectively. What we're asking you to do in this case analysis is to analyze and evaluate your chosen organization's strategies. Ask yourself basically two broad questions. Based on the actions that you can observe the organization has taken, what strategies has it adopted? And are the strategies it has chosen appropriate and effective? Why or why not? When you are doing this assignment, you need to choose a case. Now, this case can be any organization of your choice. I'm going to talk about what makes a good case later on. You need to choose your organization by next week, though, at the very latest, because you'll need to work on assignment 1, which is due the week after that. And because it just makes sense for you to be working on this and thinking about it as early as possible. If you have questions about this, you can definitely get in touch with Belinda to discuss it. Now, before you choose your organization, I recommend that you do some preliminary research on it. Try and understand what the challenges facing the organization are, figure out the resources it has, what goals it is trying to achieve, and also try and see if you can get information about what it's doing to try and achieve its goals in the context of these challenges and resources. So, what makes for a good case? In other words, how do you choose a good organization to focus on for the written assignments? Students ask this every single year, and I'm going to try and answer it in a way that is useful for you this year as well. So, in my opinion, the organization you choose should, at the very least, be of personal interest to you. You're going to spend many weeks thinking about it, doing research on it, writing on it. If it's really boring, that's kind of a waste of time. Compared to if it were actually interesting and you were spending all that time learning more about something that was actually of great interest to you, that seems just more fun. Another consideration is it should currently be active, so it's still doing things that you can find out about and write about. Now, a third thing which is actually really, really important is it should be of manageable size. If you decide to go after a corporation that's in 50 countries, has hundreds of thousands of employees, and hundreds of lines of business, how will you possibly fit that into a 16-page report and still have the report be comprehensive and detailed? It just seems unmanageable. Now, on the other hand, if you went after a company that was smaller, say it operates in one country, has one product, and only a handful of employees, it's going to be much easier for you to write a comprehensive, intelligent report that is detailed in 16 pages. Now, when you're thinking about choosing an organization, you don't just have to think about whole organizations. You can pick parts of organizations too. So for instance, Google, all products, all countries, is a massive organization, not manageable. But if you decide that you want to maybe look at Google search in China, that might be something which is much more manageable that you could fit in a 16-page report. So the final thing I should say is it should be an organization that has publicly accessible information. The reason for this is you don't have very much time, and trying to get access to an organization so that you can get data from inside it that is not publicly accessible is both risky and time intensive. If you really want to do it and you already have access to this organization for interviews and other data collection, we're fine with that. Just make sure that you understand what you're getting into. And because we want to make sure that you understand what you're getting into, if this is what you want to do interviews inside an organization that you have access to already, please get in touch with Belinda this week to talk it over before you decide to do this. What actually will you have to do in this final assignment? In 16 pages, you need to do 3 main things. The first one is you should describe using evidence from your research, what the goals of the organization are, as well as its challenges and resources in achieving those goals. That's 40% of the content grade. The second thing you have to do is you have to describe, again using evidence from your research, what you think the organization's main strategies are, what it's trying to do to achieve those goals. That's 20% of the content grade. And then finally, you have to assess how well those strategies fit with the organizational goals you've identified and the challenges and resources that you say it faces, drawing on the framework that this course provides. That's 40% of the content score. And the content makes up 70% of the assignment score. The remaining 30% is for writing, which includes prose and style as well as citation. Argument is crucial when you're writing this final assignment. This is not a descriptive assignment, and purely descriptive case studies are not acceptable. They actually will simply not get a passing score. Now, a case study has to make persuasive arguments in order to work. And the arguments will be about, although not only about, why the organization is worth studying, who will find this case study valuable, and why. You'll have to make arguments for your interpretation of the organization's strategies from the actions it has taken, as well as arguments for your evaluation and assessment of the organization's strategies. This whole thing is due Wednesday in week 15. Now, to get you there, we've got two pre-writing assignments that are very short. Assignment 1 is due in week 9, and it's got two parts. Part 1 is a case argument, where you explain why you think this case is worth studying in the first place, and you start to tell us who you think would learn or benefit from what you find out in doing the research on this particular case. Part 2 of it is a case research plan, and this also is 1 page long. In this case research plan, you should have done some preliminary research to figure out what information is available and what that does for your way of thinking about how to interpret all this information together. Essentially, the case research plan should tell the reader where all the information that you're going to use should be found and what kinds of information you're thinking about using. So just to be clear, the pre-writing assignment A1 is 7.5% of the overall grade that's equally split between parts 1 and 2. Part 1 is the case argument, part 2 is the case research plan. Both part 1 and part 2 are 1 page each for a total submission of 2 pages, and that's due in week 9, in 2 weeks. Now the second pre-writing assignment is assignment A2, which is 7.5% as well. And this is a case argumentation plan. This is due in week 13 and it's 2 pages long. And so you should have spent the intervening time between week 9 and week 13 figuring out, with the case argument and the case research plan done, and doing some research and thinking about what you're going to write about. You should, by the time week 13 rolls around, you should have a clearer idea of where you're trying to go, what argument you're trying to make. And you should be able to lay out that argument in a summary form over 2 pages. And that's what pre-writing assignment A2 is. On these short pre-writing assignments, you're going to get directional feedback, not very, very detailed written comments, because they have to mark so many of them in such a short time. And the sync sessions at the end of the weeks in which A1 and A2 are due will, of course, discuss some of the problems found in your written work and also some suggestions for how to make them better. And all of the assignments, the final assignment as well as the pre-writing assignments, have grading rubrics that we will use, that we are sharing with you so that you know how we think about marking all of these assignments. These are all turned in right now. And in fact, you can also download them as a PDF on Moodle. Now, assignment formatting. In previous years, we had word counts, and those didn't work very well because students were really stressed out by it for some reason. Now we're in a page limit. So the page limits are 16 pages for the final assignment, 2 pages for A1, 2 pages for A2. Now, what we do require you to do, and there's no flexibility on this, is format all of your pages the same way. So the margins should be 2.5 cm on all sides of each page, and it should be Times New Roman 12-point double-spaced for all text, literally all text, including but not limited to the footnotes, your endnotes, your captions, your table text, your reference list, and your citations. On the length limits, your entire submission must fit within these length limits. except for the list of references. So what this means is everything that we read, other than the list of references that you cite in your text, should fit in the length limit. We will not read any excess, and we won't grade it, which also means that if you have any excess text that we don't read, we won't understand maybe the rest of your work. So keep within the length limits. This is not only because we won't read it, but also because, according to UCL policy, if your submission exceeds the length limit for the assignment, your final grade for that particular submission will be reduced by 10 points. So there are many bad reasons for going over the length limit and many, many good reasons for not going over the length limit.